Hey guys, happy Monday. This is the beginning of our second week of the cycle, and we've been doing pushing and pulling for the strength portion today. So we've been doing bench press with the barbell. We're going to switch it up a little bit with some dumbbell work. So we're going to warm up with 2 sets of 10 reps just to feel the movement out if you haven't done this before. And then we're going to go into some tempo work. Tempo meaning we're going to control the descent, 3 seconds down, explode back up for a set of 6 to 8. And you're going to challenge yourself with building up to a heavy set. We're going to superset that with the some type of strict ring muscle up work, which we'll talk about separately. So the dumbbell bench press, all the same pieces as the barbell, but when we have dumbbells instead of a barbell, it's less stable, so we have to work a little harder to control the weight. So I'm going to start. I'm going to show you some lightweight here. So when you set yourself up, remember you want to keep the feet flat on the floor. So as you set yourself up, all right, in the back, I'm pressing down through my heels. All right, the position for people always ask, there's no perfect position here, right? Slightly different muscle groups, generally speaking, at the bottom. We want to keep the shoulder blades pulled back against the bench, arch in the lower back, drive up at the top. Again, you can rotate if you want or finish here. But when we get to the main exercise, that 1, 2, 3, and explode back up. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and explode back up. That's what we're looking for. Nothing too fancy. That's going to be the first part. We're going to superset this with some strict muscle up work. All right, guys. So there's 4 working sets for the bench press into the strict muscle up work. So if you can do strict muscle ups, great. We're going to be talking about mostly the transition, so the low rings for people that are developing that skill. So there's something called a false grip. And I'm going to take the shot, I'm going to show you. It's down in where the wrist meets the palm by the pinky, okay? And this is a kind of a weird grip if you're not used to it. So that's where you would chalk. And I'm going to show you when you go to the rings how this works. So when you set up for this movement, I'm going to start between the rings, okay? I'm going to bend my knees a little bit to kind of feel the weight in my shoulders. And then I lean back with my feet out in front of me. So my legs are straight. And I want you to see how my wrists are bent. I'm flexing my wrists. So the idea here is I pull and transition over. And so this false grip, it looks like this when I'm hanging. Okay, my wrist is bent like I'm flexing my forearm. And the idea is that this gives me an advantageous position when I want to transition to the top, okay? If I hold it normally and I try to pull myself over, my wrist gets stuck underneath the ring, okay? So this false grip, it feels really weird, but allows my body to go under to over based on that wrist position, okay? So you chalk this spot here, and this is something that you can play with. If you've never done it before, again, start between the rings, bend your knees, all right? Just practice leaning back and grabbing that false grip, okay? Getting to a fully extended position is more challenging, okay? So if you stay bent, it's a little bit easier. And just start feeling that transition, okay? I'd say the biggest mistake we see is that people stand up. They don't pull with the arms. What they'll do is they'll stand with their legs, right? So now I'm not in my hands anymore. I've stood up, okay? So always try to feel the weight in your grip. We're doing, about 5 reps or so, good controlled. If your legs are out further in front, this is going to feel more challenging. If your knees are here and bent, this is a little bit easier, okay? For some athletes, if this is challenging, just work on challenging ring rows, pulling the rings all the way to your chest. Other athletes, feel free to work on some dips as well, because in the workout today, there's also ring muscle up. So we want to do some type of slower, controlled strength portion. In the workout, you do something a little bit more dynamic. So let's talk about the workout. All right, guys, conditioning. We got a great one, a classic variation on Fran, which is 21-15-9 for the thrusters. But instead of pull-ups, we're going to be working on muscle-ups. And we're going to work in some running in between our rounds. So thrusters, classic barbell weight of prescribed at 95 for guys, 65 for women. This should be something you're comfortable moving. All right, the thruster, elbows in front of the bar, keep that chest up, good deep squat, driving overhead. Okay, again, if you're debating on weight here, go with the lighter than heavier, be able to move through this with some decent sets, okay? From there, some running, pretty straightforward. Again, if you can't run, always work in some rowing or biking if you need. Now the ring muscle ups. We just worked on strict ring muscle ups in the strength portion. So we want to do something a bit different, a bit more dynamic. A lot of options here. I'm not going to go over every single option, but a couple basics. One is if you can do ring muscle ups, but the volume is a lot, feel free to do less reps per round. I'm going to show you a version here. This is great for those that can do a dip, but are struggling to learn how to do the swing and transition. So this is a jumping ring muscle up. So it looks just like this. Get a nice deep palm grip. I set up a box height, so I'm going to jump into that bottom of the dip position. And then from here, I have to do the dip myself. And I can drop back down. So again, simpler version, but I still have to work on stabilizing, understanding how to transition my body over, and then the dip is all me. Very good variation, particularly as you get tired, okay, for those that never really work on these high rings. So that's the jumping ring muscle up. But you can use a jumping bar muscle up, banded bar muscle up, and you can also just work on the two components of it. Do a certain number of reps of pull-ups plus dips. So you're working on both the pull and the dip portion. So find something that you're comfortable with. Have fun with this, guys. 18-minute time cap today. See you tomorrow.